TomoNews presents Air Travel.
787 Dreamliner crew have a secret rest spot. Ever wondered where the flight attendants and pilots rest during those long-haul flights? Well, this is how it works on a Boeing 787 Dreamliner. For long-haul flights over 9 hours, there are up to 4 pilots on board, who take turns to rest when the plane is at cruising altitude. On a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, the pilot's rest cabin is usually positioned behind the cockpit and above the first-class compartment. The stairway to the pilot's rest cabin is disguised behind a security-coded door. The cabin usually has 1 business class seat and 2 bunk beds. In addition to the mattress and pillows, thick curtains are used to separate the bunk beds to give the pilots a small amount of privacy. The rest cabin for flight attendants is usually located at the rear of the plane, just above the economy passenger compartment. The staircase is again hidden from the passengers, behind a security-coded door. Depending on the design of each plane, a compartment can usually accommodate at least 5 flight attendants. The bunk beds are fitted with seat belts, protecting the crew from falling during turbulence. The rest cabins are essential for long-haul flights, as they prevent crew members from overwork during flight duty. Even though some crew members complain that it feels like sleeping in a coffin, other people wonder if similar rest cabins can be designed for passengers too.
Qantas plane flies with 5 engines. Passengers on Qantas Flight QF63 witnessed a curious sight last week when their plane flew to South Africa with not 4, but 5 engines. A Boeing 747 Qantas flight from Sydney to Johannesburg on Wednesday was carrying unusually heavy baggage, 6 tons to be exact, in the form of a 5th engine. The rare move was meant to carry the replacement Rolls-Royce engine to a plane in Johannesburg to get it back in the air sooner. With the 747 designed to carry additional cargo on its left wing, Qantas explained it merely had to fit the aircraft with anchor points, attach a supporting strut, and hoist the engine up using a winching mechanism to secure it safely. Despite not being powered for the flight, the 5th engine added weight and drag, which meant the plane had to fly slower and make a refueling stop in Perth before the 11-hour flight to South Africa. After Flight QF63 landed, the engine was removed and fitted onto another plane, which made the return trip back to Sydney. The replaced engine will be shipped back by boat.
Dutch researchers propose circular airport runways. Scientists in the Netherlands are working at the country's aerospace center to develop circular airport runways. Researchers at the Endless Runway, a project funded by the European Commission, believe circular runways could have several benefits, including being more environmentally friendly and less noisy. The group proposes constructing a 3.5-kilometer wide circular runway with banked sides, divided into 18 runway segments, with the airport terminal in the center of the circle. The length of the circular runway would be equal to 3 straight runways, while being able to handle the air traffic of 4. Circular runways would allow planes to land and take off at any point in the circle. Pilots would be able to land in directions with the most favorable weather conditions, while avoiding difficult maneuvers in situations such as strong crosswinds. The circular design would also mean aircraft coming into land circle the airport fewer times, thus using less fuel. The design allows for 3 planes to land and take off at the same time. Because of centrifugal forces, planes would automatically go slower and move toward the center of the runway. Circular runways could also limit noise pollution by spreading it more evenly around the airport. The U.S. military conducted tests in the 1960s with circular runways, but commercial circular runways have never been built.
Airbus files patent for removable cabin modules. French airmaker Airbus has come up with a new way to shave off time between flights. The patent designs the company released detail removable cabin modules, which could be swapped in and out of an aircraft to reduce turnaround time between flights. Airbus's concept for removable cabin modules would have passengers board a detached cabin from a docking station in anticipation of a plane's arrival. Passengers seat themselves while their luggage is stored, reducing processing time for boarding. Once the empty aircraft arrives in the terminal, the fully loaded cabin container would be lowered into the plane, locking into place before the plane departs. Once the flight lands at its destination, it pulls into a new gate at the airport, where the removable cabin would detach and be lifted up into a docking station. The plane would then be prepared to take on a new cabin of passengers. Although plans for such planes may never become a reality, it sure is fun to imagine less of a mess and less stress when it comes to flying.
Boeing rolls out its biggest Dreamliner yet, the 787-10. If you fly United Airlines, Singapore Airlines, British Airways, ANA, EVA Air, and a handful of others, you could soon be taking a ride on this beauty. Behold the 787-10 Dreamliner from Boeing. What makes a Dreamliner so special? Check out that body and wings made of highly advanced composite and lighter weight materials. Look how they bend. All a part of what Boeing says makes for a smoother ride. The 787-10 is bigger than the 787-9 and the 787-8. How much bigger? We're talking 18 feet, enough to give his little brother an inferiority complex. This means that in a typical configuration, an airline can add an additional 40 seats compared with the 787-9 for a total of 330 passengers. And down in the belly, count on stuffing in an extra 15% more cargo that you know you're going to pay extra for. Damn baggage fees. Boeing says the 787-10 is 10 to 25% more fuel efficient than older planes or the competition, so the economics work out for the airline. But the extra weight means the 787-10 is intended for shorter routes compared with the 787-9. Boeing was considering making the 787-10 in Mexico until this guy showed up. Just kidding. Boeing had planned to make the 787-10 in South Carolina all along, and thought it would be nice to invite the orange guy anyway.
World's largest aircraft, the Strato launch, nears completion. Seattle-based company Vulcan Aerospace announced that its Strato Launch Systems, an air launch platform for rockets, is close to completion. The Strato Launch has a wingspan of 385 feet and measures 238 feet in length. The 6-engine aircraft is currently the world's largest. The Strato Launch is designed to carry rockets weighing up to 275 tons. It would take off from a runway with the rocket attached to its belly and release the rocket when it reaches 35,000 feet. The rocket then fires its own engine and travels towards its orbit. Strato Launch is designed to make air rocket launches into low Earth orbit a routine commute. The Strato Launch systems are expected to be completed by the end of this year and is estimated to start commercial services before 2020. Airbus designs custom modular plane interiors. Airbus has released a new concept called Transpose, which may allow travelers to enjoy dining in restaurants or even go to the gym while flying. The new concept makes use of existing cargo planes and their large doors and reinforced floor rails. The plane interiors are built in modular sections. These sections can include a gym and even a play zone for children. The modular sections can easily be loaded onto the cargo plane. Once in the plane, they are securely latched to the floor. Different interior spaces can be swapped. For example, sleeping compartments for red-eye flights can be exchanged for a coffee shop and seating for short daytime flights. Airbus has already recruited engineers and designers to work on a demonstration module in a full-size plane mock-up. The company says the concept could be fully realized in just a few years.
Japanese Space Agency tests supersonic plane with less sonic boom. Japan's Space Agency, JAXA, in cooperation with Sweden's Esrange Space Center, has successfully tested an experimental supersonic aircraft that emits a quieter sonic boom. The plane's design reduces shock waves typically created during supersonic flight, resulting in a quieter supersonic boom, according to Popular Mechanics. The aircraft represents an attempt to rectify some of the issues faced by the world's first supersonic commercial jet, the Concorde, which had its European routes cancelled due to noise levels. The plane, flight tested by Japanese Space Agency JAXA, was reportedly built to specifications conceived by Sweden's Esrange Space Center. In an experiment, the plane was dropped from a balloon at an altitude of 30 kilometers and reached supersonic speeds during the fall. The sonic boom data was collected via several aerial microphones attached to a blimp. JAXA expects to release detailed data from the experiment in the near future.
Flying has never been so frustrating. Wait times at airport security checks could reach epidemic levels this summer, when air travel usually peaks. The Transportation Security Administration is advising U.S. travelers to be at the airport 3 hours early due to long security lines. The TSA advisory comes after lengthy waiting times resulted in thousands of missed flights and delays in airports across the country. Passengers who come unprepared and bring more than the allowed number of carry-ons are partly to blame. But with almost 3 million travelers passing through screening each day, the 42,350 agents employed by the TSA are simply not enough. More than 700 new officers are set to be hired by June, but union leaders say it would take at least 6,000 to alleviate the congestion. Currently, the only other alternative is PreCheck, an expedited entry program which allows previously vetted passengers to bypass the long lines. As of March 1, 2016, only 9.3 million travelers were enrolled in PreCheck, a far cry from the TSA's goal of 25 million flyers. In the meantime, the rest of us will just have to give up 3 hours of our lives for a security check that may or may not be effective. Or take the train.
People might be able to take the plane at train stations in the future by taking Clip airplanes created by Swiss inventors. Clip Air is composed of a flying wing and 3 flexible fuselages. The flying wing includes the cockpit, 3 motors, and it has a wingspan of 60 meters. The length of the fuselage is 30 meters, which is the same length of a train wagon. Clip Air can carry up to 3 fuselages that can carry either passengers, freight, or fuel. Passengers can board the plane at their local train stations. The train cars would then be plucked from the tracks and clipped onto the flying wing. The model is to be unveiled for the first time at the Paris Air Show between June 17th and June 19th.
Boeing says commercial hypersonic jets could be a reality. The CEO of Boeing said at the Paris Air Show that commercial hypersonic jets will become a reality in the next decade or two, which will drastically cut down on current air travel times. Hypersonic generally refers to speeds of Mach 5 and above, which is faster than supersonic and more than 5 times faster than transonic speeds. A hypersonic jet can travel from New York to Shanghai in just 2 hours, whereas a conventional commercial flight usually takes around 15 hours. However, objects traveling at hypersonic speed have to withstand surface temperatures of up to 1,000 degrees Celsius, enough to melt aluminum and titanium. The 2 elements are common materials used in current aircraft construction. Sonic booms created by flights traveling at hypersonic speeds would also generate a noise on the ground that can permanently damage human ears. Despite the failure of the Concorde and skepticism over ultra-fast airliners, some companies have made continuous efforts to try to turn supersonic travel into a reality. Boom Technology is developing a 55-seat supersonic jet that it hopes will be in service by next decade. Lockheed Martin is also developing the quiet supersonic technology X-plane that it hopes will eliminate the problem of sonic booms.